with Rich Herrera on News Radio WRVA.
All right, it's 8:33 this morning here on Richmond's Morning News. My name is Rich Herrera. This is News Radio WRVA, the voice of Virginia. We are fortunate that on Thursdays we get a chance to catch up with Governor/Ambassador, and I can also say former Attorney General Jim Gilmore, who joins us every week. We get a chance to talk about things here in the Commonwealth, and we ask him to take a look at things internationally as well, and he's joining us right now on News Radio WRVA. Good morning, sir.
Glad to be back, Rich. Thanks very much.
I do appreciate
Glad to be with you.
I do appreciate it. And boy, we've had some great conversations lately. There's so much going on. I mean, I could go rapid fire with you right now with what's going on within the Commonwealth. I still don't have a budget, but the governor had a new revenue forecast, which, boom, all of a sudden they've discovered we're going to have a lot more money than they thought we would. It happens to be the same amount of money that Louise Lucas wants to take out of the budget by suspending the sales tax relief that we gave to data centers. I've got people lining up to buy weapons, AR-15, since it looks like they're going to be outlawed in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And then I have the controversy at Virginia Tech with the rector, who's a longtime supporter of Hokies Nation, being unceremoniously dumped in a very public and, I would say, demeaning way. So let's start with Virginia Tech. Get your thoughts there. The Board of Visitors, what exactly are they? What is their mission? And when you're appointing people to the Board of Governors, Board of Visitors, what do you look for? What do you need from them?
Well, look, Rich, first of all, I want to make it clear to your listeners, John Rockovich.
Oh, wait a minute, sir.
Virginia Tech.
Sir, let me get you to just twist just a little bit. We just lost you for a second. Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Yeah, look, John Rockovich, who's the rector that's under discussion here in Blacksburg, is a longtime personal friend of mine. He supported me constantly during my political career. But we've also become personal friends over the years. So, I've been watching this pretty close. And when he was thrown out by Governor Spanberger, I called him on the phone. And so, look, you asked me a question. When I was governor, I considered this a very high importance of the governor. I interviewed every single person who I appointed to a Board of Visitors in all of Virginia's public universities and colleges. And the reason was there was some discussion while I was trying to run the colleges out of the governor's office and all that. That is absolutely not true. What I was trying to do was to impress upon my appointees that they represented the people of Virginia, the taxpayers of Virginia who own these colleges. There's a tendency of the colleges to kind of go off on their own and be very independent and not really pay attention to the taxpayer until they're trying to raise tuitions. And one of my policies was to try to hold the line on tuitions on behalf of the taxpayers of Virginia. So that was the emphasis I was trying to place on my appointees. But I interviewed everyone before I appointed them. The law is a little ambiguous, as it turns out, on this. I always thought as governor that once I appointed these people, they were there for their term and that was it. And I couldn't fire them except for misconduct. And I think that's actually the law. That's the statute.
That is the statute, yes.
Yeah, so I never thought I could fire anybody. Actually, I wanted to fire a few of them because I thought they went native after I appointed them and worked more for the college presidents than they did for the taxpayer. But I didn't think I could remove them. But Governor Spanberger has, in fact, taken the most prominent Virginia Tech supporter in my entire world and fired him by saying he was guilty of misconduct. Well, Rich, he's not guilty of misconduct. There's no evidence of anything of wrongdoing of any kind by John Rockovich. So I think the test here is, does the governor get to do it anyway? Well, to my surprise, I read in the paper that the tech board met and replaced John Rockovich on the board and elected a new rector and just pretended like the governor's edict was the law. I was a little surprised at that. I really didn't think John had to do anything but just continue on and refuse to resign and continue on his duties. But the board now has, in fact, followed Governor Spanberger. And this, of course, is a lesson in the strength of the governorship, something that I wish I had understood a little better when I was governor.
Okay. Two things. And I asked George Allen this last week, do the Board of Visitors serve at your pleasure? He said, no, once they're on, they're there. And like you said, sometimes you think you were appointing one person and they do this and they turn out to be completely different once they get into the role. that happens when you have people that you appoint in as public service. But two things bother me over this. Number one is, for a man like you, and I don't know Mr. Rokovich, I've never met him before. I'd like to, and we've invited him to come on the program. For someone like that who's devoted so much to Virginia Tech, and he's, from what I understand, largely responsible for bringing James Franklin in here, and the Virginia Tech Hokie athletics is on that razor's edge right now because we know what's going on in college athletics and how it affects the rest of the university. But to have someone that's that devoted and done that much work to be publicly just thrown out like yesterday's newspaper, to me, it's very unbecoming for the Commonwealth of Virginia to do that to someone who's devoted so much of their life. And the thank you he gets is his name is besmirched and kicked out unceremoniously. And then number two is, if you've got a reason to let the man go, and these are, and you said this is how we fire you because of malfeasance or misconduct, but then you fire him, you've left such innuendo out there. Either show us why you fired him and you give us the malfeasance since you're going to drag his name through the mud, or not. And to say nothing about that really strikes me as something like, why would I want to go do any of this, Governor Gilmore? Why would I want to put myself out there if I give all that work to the Commonwealth, I devote my life to Virginia Tech, and I get treated like that and kicked to the curb?
No. People who ask to be on the boards of visitors are very dedicated people, usually to their colleges. They want to say they have loyalty to their colleges the same way the donors do with the athletic programs and all the rest of it. And they want to do a good job for the colleges, and they do a good job for the colleges.
Yes.
Again, it's just a matter of policy for me that I wanted to emphasize. Hey, look, I'm appointing you to this college. Don't go just take orders from the college president,
Right.
Eat all the meatballs, and go to the football games. Your duty is to protect the people of Virginia, because I consider the colleges to be one of the most important things in Virginia, and the duty of the governor to really oversee that. But in this particular instance, John has sort of been defamed, I think. And, I didn't think he needed to go to court for anything, but after the reorganization of the board down in Blacksburg, I think maybe he does need to go to court and get a judge to declare the fact that until the governor puts forward some reason, she hasn't really met the statute. So it's tough stuff. But I just want to repeat, I consider it to be of great high importance. I don't think John Rokovich did anything that is anything like misconduct. And I guess the big mystery here that I would say to your listeners is, I think we don't know why this happened. Now, every governor wants his own or her own people. That's
Sure.
true. We see that in Washington with Trump. But then the chief executive, whether it's Trump or whether it's Gilmore or whether it's Spanberger, they have to be accountable for the people that they put on, the people they appoint, and what they do. That's the responsibility of the governor. And on the other hand, I agree with George Allen. I don't think the governor gets to just withdraw a person after they're appointed. I always considered it to be a problem, but I lived within the statute.
And that's my big thing is, and I would say this if you were living in the governor's mansion, Governor Gilmore, that's great, but you have to explain yourself to the people. We put you there to live in that governor's mansion for 4 years, but remember, you are accountable to your constituents, and when you do something, you need to let us know why or give us an explanation now and then.
Well, your listeners can Google Rokovich's letter. I think it's public. I saw it early. I think the letter is public, and his distinguished career, both in public policy and in charitable events, is unparalleled. And his commitment to Virginia Tech and his history of service to Virginia Tech is unparalleled. So I think that the mystery here is why. The governor has to either tell us what's really going on behind the scenes to cause the Rokovich to be removed, or she has to at least adhere to the statute and explain it. Otherwise, the statute doesn't give her that power. Now, there is a line that says the governor decides whether a person's guilty of misconduct or not. But you got to point to something,
right,
and say that this is what happened, and this is why I interpret it as misconduct.
1 minute to
that has not yet occurred.
And then you can't just say, and I won't comment anymore. That just doesn't carry any water for me. All right.
Well, apparently it does to somebody, because it surprised me what's going on the reorganization of the board. But look, Rokovich is one of the finest men I've ever met.
Okay. Now, I can't wait to talk to you about it. We've seen some movement in Iran, and we see some movement, something really big, Russia, Ukraine. In fact, St. Petersburg was hit by a drone from Ukraine. I want to ask you about that coming
What a
up
great
after the
story
top hour.
that is.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm going to.
That's a great story.
I've been
talk
waiting
about
all
that
week to
now.
talk about that with you. So we'll do that coming up at 9:00. Governor Jim Gilmore stays with us here on News Radio WRVA. I'm Rich Schreier. Thanks so much for joining us. It's fun when we get a chance to talk with Jim Gilmore. He gives so much information. It's one of the big thrills we have of the week. We'll talk to him coming up at 9:00 about what's going on with Ukraine, some new movement there. Today's program is brought